Howdy, partners. Strap on your boots and dust off your hats, because today we're about to embark on a journey through time, straight into the heart of the legendary Wild West. This isn't just any old history lesson. No, sir. We're going to feel the grit, the excitement, and the untamed spirit that made the West so wild. So, saddle up and get ready to experience a world where adventure was around every corner, and every day brought a new story. Today we're heading back in time to the Wild West. Imagine the sun rising over a sleepy frontier town, painting the sky with brilliant shades of orange and gold. The air is crisp, filled with the scent of sagebrush and the promise of a new day. Wooden buildings line the dusty main street, their facades weathered by years of wind and sun. This was a place where dreams were chased, fortunes were made and lost, and legends were born with every sunrise. Picture dusty towns, cowboys on horseback, and the sound of spurs jingling. The streets buzzed with life as cowboys rode in from long cattle drives, their faces tanned by the sun and their boots caked with trail dust. Every step they took echoed with the metallic chime of spurs, a sound as iconic as the West itself. These were men and women of grit and determination, carving out a life on the edge of civilization, where every day was a test of courage and skill. And you know what's right in the heart of it all? The saloon. These lively establishments were more than just watering holes. They were the beating heart of every frontier town. With their creaking wooden floors and swinging doors, saloons offered a refuge from the harsh realities of frontier life. Here, stories were swapped, deals were struck, and friendships were forged over glasses of whiskey and games of cards. Saloons were like magnets, drawing folks from all walks of life. Cowboys, miners, gamblers, and travelers all found themselves under the same roof, united by a thirst for adventure and a need for camaraderie. The clatter of poker chips, the laughter of patrons, and the lively tunes of a piano player filled the air, creating an atmosphere that was both welcoming and electric. It didn't matter where you came from. Inside the saloon, everyone had a story to tell. They were the places to be, day or night. By day, the saloon bustled with townsfolk seeking a break from their daily chores, sharing news and gossip over a cold drink. By night, the energy shifted. Lamplight flickered, music played, and the promise of excitement hung in the air. Whether you were looking for a friendly game of cards or a chance to dance to a lively tune, the saloon was where memories were made and legends began. Imagine this: the sun setting over a dusty town, casting long shadows that stretch across the main street. The sky blazes with color as the day gives way to night, and the whole town seems to pause, caught in a moment of quiet beauty. It's a scene that captures the very essence of the Wild West, rugged, beautiful, and full of possibility. As the last rays of sunlight fade, the town comes alive in a different way, with laughter and music spilling out into the cool evening air. You can almost hear the music spilling out of the saloon doors, beckoning you inside. The lively notes of a fiddle and the rhythmic beat of boots on the wooden floor invite everyone to join the fun. Inside, the atmosphere is electric. People are dancing, laughing, and forgetting their troubles for a while. The saloon is more than just a building. It's the soul of the town, a place where the spirit of the West lives on in every song and every story told. Ready for an adventure? Let's mosey. The Wild West is calling, and there's a whole world of stories waiting to be discovered. So grab your hat, step into your boots, and join us as we explore the legends, the landscapes, and the unforgettable characters that made the West truly wild. The adventure is just beginning, and you're right at the heart of it. Saloons weren't fancy places. In fact, they were about as far from fancy as you could get on the American frontier. These establishments were rough and ready, built to serve the needs of cowboys, miners, travelers, and townsfolk who needed a break from the harsh realities of life out west. If you were looking for velvet curtains or polished marble floors, you were in the wrong place. Saloons were all about function, not form, and their rugged exteriors reflected the tough spirit of the people who built and frequented them. Most were simple wooden buildings, often with a long covered porch out front. That porch was more than just decoration. It was a gathering spot, a place to tie up your horse, and sometimes even a makeshift stage for impromptu performances or heated arguments. The wood was usually rough-hewn, weathered by sun, wind, and rain, and the whole structure might creak and groan in a strong breeze. But for the folks who came here, It was a welcome sight after a long day on the trail or a hard shift in the mines. They weren't built to be pretty, they were built to last. The builders used whatever materials they could find, sometimes even repurposed wagon boards or old barnwood. The result was a building that looked like it had seen 100 storms and was ready for 100 more. The saloon stood as a testament to the resilience and resourcefulness of frontier communities, a place that could withstand rowdy crowds, barroom brawls, and the unpredictable weather of the West. You'd see swinging doors, the kind that go both ways, creaking on their hinges as patrons came and went. These doors were iconic, offering just enough privacy to keep the dust out, but not so much that you couldn't see who was coming in. They were a symbol of the open, unpredictable nature of saloon life. Anyone could walk through at any moment, from a weary cowboy to a notorious outlaw, and maybe a sign above advertising whiskey or cold beer. These signs were hand-painted, sometimes a little crooked, but always clear about what was on offer. Whiskey was the drink of choice, but if you were lucky, you might find a cold beer or even a sarsaparilla for those who didn't want something quite so strong. The promise of a stiff drink and a place to rest was enough to draw people in from miles around. Stepping through those doors was like entering a different world. The outside noise faded, replaced by the low hum of conversation and the clink of glasses. The light inside was dim, filtered through dusty windows and oil lamps, casting long shadows across the room. For a moment, you might feel like you'd traveled back in time, leaving behind the worries of the trail for the warmth and chaos of the saloon. The air was thick with the smells of tobacco, sawdust, and spilled beer. Sawdust was often scattered on the floor to soak up spills and make sweeping up at the end of the night a little easier. The smoke from cigars and pipes hung in the air, mixing with the scent of sweat, leather, and whatever was cooking in the back. It was a sensory overload, but for many, it was the smell of comfort and camaraderie. You might hear laughter, shouting, or even a piano playing in the corner. The saloon was a place where stories were told, deals were made, and sometimes tempers flared. There might be a card game in progress, a group of friends sharing a joke, or a lone traveler nursing a drink and listening to the music. The piano, if there was one, was often out of tune, but nobody seemed to mind. In the saloon, everyone was welcome, at least until trouble started. For a brief moment, stepping into a saloon meant stepping into the heart of frontier life, where anything could happen and everyone had a story to tell. Inside, a long bar usually ran down one side of the room. Behind it, shelves stacked high with bottles glinted in the dim light. Oil lamps or candles provided a warm glow, casting flickering shadows on the wooden walls. Tables and chairs were scattered around, some wobbly from too much use. Saloons weren't just about drinking, though. They were often the biggest buildings in town, used for everything from town meetings to dances. Now let's talk about what folks did in saloons. These lively establishments were the heart and soul of many frontier towns, serving as much more than just a place to grab a drink. Saloons were social hubs where people from all walks of life gathered to relax, catch up on the latest news, and escape the harsh realities of frontier living. Whether you were a cowboy fresh off a cattle drive, a miner hoping to strike it rich, or a traveler passing through, the saloon was a welcoming spot to unwind and connect with others. Drinks were a big part of it, of course. The bar was always bustling, with bartenders expertly pouring drinks and sliding glasses down the polished wooden counter. The clink of glass and the low hum of conversation filled the air, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. For many, the first stop after a long day was the bar, where a stiff drink could help wash away the dust and worries of the trail. Whiskey was the most popular, and for good reason. It was strong, affordable, and easy to come by. Some saloons even made their own house blends, giving each establishment its own unique flavor and reputation. Patrons would often toast to good fortune, new friendships, or simply making it through another day in the Wild West. But you could also get beer, which was usually served in heavy glass mugs or tin cups. Beer was a refreshing choice, especially on hot days, and it was often brewed locally or shipped in by the barrel. The taste might not have matched today's craft brews, but it was cold and satisfying after a hard day's work. Sarsaparilla, a sweet, fizzy drink made from roots, was a favorite among those who didn't want alcohol, and even kids could enjoy it. Coffee was another staple, brewed strong and black, perfect for keeping folks awake during long nights of cards or conversation. No matter your taste, there was something for everyone at the saloon bar. Saloons were also places to unwind and have some fun. People came not just to drink, but to socialize, share stories, and enjoy a sense of community. The laughter and chatter could be heard spilling out onto the dusty streets, drawing in newcomers and regulars alike. It was a place where friendships were forged, deals were struck, and sometimes rivalries were settled. Card games like poker and faro were popular, with tables often crowded late into the night. The stakes could be high, and fortunes were sometimes won or lost in a single hand. The tension and excitement around the card tables were palpable, as players tried to read each other's faces and bluff their way to victory. Gambling was a big draw, and some saloons even had professional dealers to keep the games running smoothly. And sometimes there was even dancing. On special nights, the tables would be pushed aside and the floor would fill with couples spinning to lively tunes. Dancing was a way to celebrate, let loose, and forget your troubles for a while. It brought people together, young and old, and added to the joyful, carefree spirit of the saloon. Some saloons even had pianos or small bands for live music. The sound of a ragtime tune or a lively fiddle could lift everyone's spirits and get the whole room singing along. Musicians were often the life of the party, and their performances made every night feel like a special occasion. Sometimes traveling performers or local talent would put on shows, adding even more excitement to the evening. It was a real party atmosphere. The saloon was a place where the worries of the outside world faded away, replaced by laughter, music, and the company of friends. Whether you were there for a drink, a game, or just to soak up the lively scene, the saloon offered a little slice of joy in the rugged world of the Old West. Saloons were a melting pot of the Wild West. You'd find cowboys fresh off the range, miners covered in dirt, businessmen in suits, and even fancy ladies. It didn't matter who you were or where you came from, everyone was welcome in a saloon. Of course, not everyone in a saloon was looking for trouble. Many folks just wanted a drink after a long day to catch up with friends or listen to some music. Saloons might seem like just places to drink and gamble, but they were actually really important to towns in the Wild West. They were often the only place for miles around where folks could gather, socialize, and get news. Think of them like community centers. They brought people together in a time when life was often lonely and hard. Now, you've probably seen saloons in movies, right? Brawls breaking out every 5 minutes, gunfights at high noon. Well, the truth is a little different. While saloons could get rowdy, most were pretty peaceful. Sure, there were fights sometimes and even the occasional gunfight. But for the most part, saloons were just places where people went to relax and enjoy themselves. Close your eyes for a second and imagine yourself stepping through those swinging saloon doors. Can you hear the clinking glasses, the laughter, the music? Can you smell the sawdust and the spilled whiskey? Can you feel the energy in the air? Saloons were a vital part of life in the Wild West, full of stories, characters, and good times. Well, partners, that's our quick trip to the saloons of the Wild West. I hope you enjoyed it. Next time you see a Western movie, think about the real saloons and all the fascinating folks who walk through those doors. And hey, why not learn more about the history of the Wild West? It's full of surprises. Happy trails.